Hello. Just want to make sure this is working. Is it recording? Is yes. Okay, let me put this in a small window. Okay. Are you settling without realizing? Settling is settling, there's for a long time I didn't even realize I was settling. I was settling big time in my life, in various aspects of my life. And so let's first and foremost define what settling is. Settling is accepting less than what you truly want, need, or deserve. So, anyhow, let's do this again. Are you settling without realizing? For a long time, I didn't even know. I didn't even realize I was settling. I was settling in pretty much every aspect of my life. So let's first define what settling is. Settling is accepting less than what you truly want, need, or deserve, and convincing yourself it's good enough. And settling is not about not having more. Settling isn't about not having more. It's about betraying your own truth for comfort, approval, or fear of unknown. So, how I was settling in my life before I started the healing and growth work a little bit over 4 years ago. So, on outside, my life looked amazing. I was a senior leader in a Fortune 500 company, managing multi-million-dollar businesses, leading a big team, making more money than I ever imagined. I had bought my first house in a beautiful neighborhood next to the beach. I was married to a handsome man. To anyone looking in, I had it all. But inside, it was a different story. So my career, I didn't feel fulfilled. Actually, I felt very frustrated on a regular basis because the work, the environment, I actually didn't mind the work, but the environment I was in, it lacked freedom, autonomy, and I really disliked dealing with politics. I actually had very little time to really doing the meaningful work, but most of the time dealing with difficult personalities and bureaucracy. But guess what? I liked the money. I liked telling other people that I worked for a well-known Fortune 500 company and I led a big team, right? Run a big business and all of those and a good perks. I love the fact that I can bring my dog to the office and unlimited vacation. I love the lifestyle. And I traveled because of the money I was able to make and the perks that I got. I was able to travel all around the world, buying a lot of things without thinking twice. And my investment account just kept going. But in many ways, I was betraying my own truth. I'm betraying my desire for freedom, autonomy, meaningful work, for money, security, prestige, and comfort. So that's what settling looks like in my career. In my marriage, I was walking on eggshells. My husband's his mood was very volatile and just kept me tiptoeing around him and trying to keep the peace. I tried to control my behaviors so that I wouldn't trigger an explosion. And I told myself many times that this wasn't that bad. Really, I said this wasn't that bad. And this was normal. This is just how relationships were, because that's how I saw in my parents and in most marriages I witnessed growing up. But deep down, I knew I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel accepted, and I didn't feel supported. And staying in that environment, it was settling. And I betrayed my need of safety and intimacy with familiarity and fear of being alone. And every time, many, many times I thought about leaving, but the thought of being alone just scared the shit out of me. And I settled in that relationship for many years. And even with friendships, I was settling too. I was the one, I don't have kids. Most of my friends are married with kids, they're busy moms. So I always rationalized the one-sided friendship. I was always the one reach out to my friends. And I was always the one organizing everything. I was the one went across the country, across the ocean to visit them. And I was the one send messages to wish their happy birthdays, but they never remembered my birthdays. But I stayed in those one-sided relationships, friendships for years. And also I didn't ask for help when I needed them because I thought it was weak. I didn't want to show them my vulnerability. So that was settling too. I was betraying my need for support. Also the need of reciprocal, right? There is a mutual care, mutual respect for fear of rejection or fear of hurting someone else's feelings. So that's how settling looked like for me in various different aspects of my life. And that's the thing about settling. It doesn't always look obvious. Because just like in my case, it looks like success on the outside. But while inside, how you feel, that's when you know whether you're settling or not. If inside you're exhausted, you're disconnected, and if you're just telling yourself this is just the way life is, then that might be settling. So you trade alignment for appearance, safety for fulfillment, and your truth for approval. So let me ask you, now knowing what settling is, where might you be settling without even realizing it? And let me tell you that there's no shame in admitting that you're settling. And most of us, based on what I've learned and what I've studied in the last 4 years about human psychology, behavior science, and nervous system, actually majority of the people are settling in some ways because it's very subtle. So let me teach you the subtle signs of settling. So how do you know you're settling? So the first is always body. Our body notices before our mind admits it. Our nervous system creates the foundation of our human experience, and it primarily lives in our body. So if you feel drained most of the time versus energized, either at work or in your relationships, then you know that's a sign. If you feel there's constant tension, low level anxiety, or Sunday night dread, that's also a sign. And if you think all of those are just normal stress, let me tell you that's not. Because now I know the difference between the sign of your body's telling you it's not aligned versus that your body is telling you that you are aligned, but you're doing things that is called worthy grind. It's a very different feeling. It's that when you are settling, meaning that right, you are compromising your truth and your internal truth and external behaviors are not aligned. And that's literally you're telling your nervous system that it's not safe to be you. So with that, and your body feels very different. It feels a lot of tension. But now, what I do, how I live, is very much aligned inside and outside. And I still face challenges in my life. I still face things that make me really uncomfortable. But it's energizing. It's curiosity. Make me want to lean in those situations because I know they make me grow. So that's the difference. One is draining, another is energizing. One is just want to avoid it and there's a lot of resistance. Another one is curiosity and the desire to grow into it, lean into it. So that's the first one. So your body, notice your body, the body signs. The second is that, do you notice you say these things to yourself? This is a different type of rationalization. And if you say to yourself, I'm lucky to have this. I'm lucky to have this job. I'm lucky to have this house. I'm lucky to have this marriage. Oh, it's not that bad. Oh, people have worse. What do I have to complain? Or everyone would kill for this. And a couple of other ones. It will get better. This is something I say to myself for decades. It will get better. You think it's just a season, but the season never ends. And that was my marriage relationship with my ex. And when it was difficult from the very beginning, but I rationalized the whole way for almost 12 years. At the beginning was, if he moved to, if we were moving together, or he was living in another country, another city, so he moved to New York with me. That was like, once he moved here, things will be better. Then he didn't. I was like, maybe once he got a job, things will be better. And he didn't. Then I'm like, once he makes some friends, things will get better. It didn't. So it goes on and on and on for over a decade. It never really actually got better because we didn't address the root cause. So another thing you may say to yourself is you keep saying later. And you have this arrival fallacy. You believe you arrive at a certain point, things will get better. Well, the common ones are when things slow down at work, I'll finally take care of myself. And you know, things will never slow down at work until you slow down. I worked in that environment for 20 years. Just this hamster wheel keeps spinning until I decided one day I'm out of this game. I don't want to even participate anymore. I participate in a different way. Or once I feel more confident, then I'll go for it. Confidence will never come on its own. It's actually you work on it. And another common one is when I have more money, when I have more savings, then I'll make a change. Then when you have more money, then you move the goalpost, then the next one, the next one, the next one. So all of these things you say, it's just a rationalization, meaning that you're settling at where you are. Next one is a sign too. It's you avoid the mirror, meaning that you don't want to ask yourself the hard questions. Am I happy? Am I satisfied? Is this aligned with my values? You don't want to ask that question because you know if you ask that question, you're not going to like that answer. And that was me too. And how you avoid asking yourself the hard questions? Staying busy. Busyness becomes a cover for discomfort. Avoidance, it feels so much easier than the truth. That was me. I was busy. My calendar at work was busy. When I wasn't working, just activities upon activities, just never allow myself to sit still for 5 minutes because I knew if I had sat still, I had to face the truth. I may have to answer those hard questions. I didn't want to. The next one is you feel envy or resentment often. Envy is when someone else, it's like you want the life someone else has, or you want certain aspects of their life that you don't have right now. And it shows that you don't have really what you want right now, right? So you envy someone else. And I experienced that. I remember was quite a few years back, a friend of mine, she quit her corporate career to become a coach. At that time, actually, I had no idea what coaching was, but the way she was living her life just feels like she was so alive. And she launched a podcast. She sent me her podcast and want me to listen to it and support her and write her review. I didn't do it. I felt very much envious of her. I didn't want to admit at that time, but I didn't feel like supporting her because I wanted the life she had. I was like, she had the courage to do that, and I don't. I felt bad about myself. So there's no shame admitting all of that. Just as you can see, I'm sharing very openly here. It's because I want to let you know that's just human emotions and human conditions when many of us are experiencing this. So let's openly talk about this. Then that's the first step to change. Another one is resentment. If you feel resentment quite often, then that's also a sign. Because resentment is when you give more than you get. and there's imbalance in the relationship, and then you are settling in that kind of relationship, the relationship is not reciprocal, and you're not getting the mutual support that you're getting. And that's a sign of settling. The next one is your excitement has flatlined, meaning that you cannot remember the last time you felt truly proud of yourself, or you felt that you were lit up. Because if you're settling, that means you are not doing what you truly want. And with that, of course, you don't have that sense of pride and that true sense of excitement. So life just feels very flat. And last one was your dreams feel embarrassing. So you stop dreaming. And you silence your bigger desires because they seem unrealistic, selfish, or too much. And that was me too. I attempted entrepreneurship over 10 years ago. I twice with 2 different ventures, either one of them worked out. So I knew how challenging being an entrepreneur was. But I had this deep desire to have freedom and autonomy. But I don't think it was possible for me, or I felt it's very unrealistic to make really good money and doing what I love on my own and being my own boss. So slowly I killed that desire and silenced that dream. And then the deep desire inside of me was still there. And the only way I knew how to achieve that was to make a lot of money. Just to save money, invest. I was so into FIRE movement. It's called Financial Independent, Retire Early. And I was just so fixated on how can I save as much money as possible, investing money so that I can retire early. And that became my dream. Because that was a path to freedom I was looking for. So, but the true desire I have is no, I'm not someone who can just retire early doing nothing on the beach. No, I want to do impactful, meaningful work. And that's what happened. I was settling because I still needed that corporate job. I felt for the money, for the financial reasons, and that was how I rationalized my kind of the choices that I made at that point. And so what I want to tell you is that next is that it's normal. As I said, many of us are settling, and let's understand why we settle. And very much of there are 3 core reasons we settle. The first one is nervous system safety. It always comes down to nervous system safety. Because our body equates familiarity with safe, even when it's unfulfilling. And we believe unknown equals threat. That's human condition, not just you. Every single one of us. That's how our nervous system is built. It's built to keep us safe, to keep in familiarity. So that's why you stay in the secure job, in familiar relationship, or long-standing but non-nourishing friendship. Because settling feels safer than change. And our nervous system is wired to avoid risk. So that's the first core reason. The second one, and it's very much prevalent among high achievers, we have this different protector parts running the show. So what are the main protector parts here? So if you haven't listened to the parts work that I talked about, different parts of us, the vulnerable part, the protector part, and then the adult, wise adult self, you can go back and check my old episodes and where I deep dived into this concept. And here is the protectors. What are the protectors showing up? First is people pleaser. The people pleaser, it's all about don't rock the boat, don't upset anyone, don't disappoint anyone, and keep the peace. But making changes is going to upset people. But the protector, right? This people pleaser in us is just so afraid to disappoint others. And that was a big one for me. Leaving the marriage was, I actually many point or so, I didn't want to upset. I didn't want to upset my ex. And leaving my career, I was very much worried about what my parents would think. And they did have a strong reaction towards it. They called me crazy. But at that point, I didn't care anymore. And I was so grounded in my own truth. Right? But that was the reason I stayed in the career, partially in the career and in the relationship for so long. That's one. The second one is this overachiever inside of us. The overachiever inside of us is you equate your worth with your productivity, your prestige, and success. So you tie your identity to your output and performance. So with that, it becomes very difficult to leave something that looks prestigious and looks shiny outside and looks successful outside to pursue something that may not look that way initially. So that's the overachiever part. And another one is the doer part. The doer part is the part that just stay in constant motion so you don't have to feel. So when all these parts are showing up and they work together to keep you clinging to the roles, relationships, and business because they believe they're protecting you. They're protecting you from rejection, failure, or pain. It's all good intention. They are super intelligent survival strategies, have helped you to become who you are today, but now they're holding you back. So the third core reason is just the conditioning and limiting beliefs that we have developed along the way. So what are some common beliefs? Is that keep us settling. Common ones are, I should be grateful for what I have. And that was my thought. My parents had, they worked 7 days a week. and they never took a vacation their whole career, their whole life, and they made very little money. And for me, I was making so much more money. I had vacations, and like, what? I shouldn't be complaining. I should be grateful. And it's not that bad, right? Or the scarcity mindset is not that bad. Someone has had it worse. What I am to complain? And I shouldn't ask for more. There's another one. It's a very, very common and very tricky. It's called sunk cost fallacy. Sunk cost fallacy is you're staying because you've already invested so much time, money, and energy. And you're thinking, I can't walk away now. I've worked too hard for this. Or I've been in this relationship for 12 years and I cannot just leave. And all our history, I cannot find another person is going to know me as much as he does. But it's sunk cost, the cost you already spent. And now the way that I would say is that you're willing to spend good money on top of bad money, or you're willing to spend more energy on the energy that you have already spent? No, right? It's that you don't want to put bad money on, good money on top of bad money. No, but those are the beliefs like create guilt around wanting something bigger or different or better, and keeping you rationalizing instead of realigning. So together, these three core reasons explain almost every settling pattern. Nervous system is all about why it feels unsafe to change. And then the parts is we use the strategies. You use the strategies to cope. And then the beliefs are the stories you're telling yourself that justify staying. And then you stay for years. And this is a paradox. High achieving women don't settle because we are weak. Actually, we settle because we are strong, resourceful, and adaptable. Because we can make almost any situation work. Because we're so good at tolerating the pain. We have high threshold for pain tolerance in general. So that was me. I'm so good at pushing through. I'm so good at just keep showing up no matter how hard it is. And that very strength becomes the trap. And the determination to make it work, right? The determination is like not giving up. That are those actually amazing qualities that keep us settling for longer. And you don't want that. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a couple of tools to really help you to build more awareness. Are you settling or not? Because knowing whether you're settling or not is the first step to change. So the first tool is called alignment scan. How much you are living in alignment with your truth. Your truths are your values, your desires, and your wants, and what you deserve. So here I just give you three areas of your life: career, relationships, You can break it down to intimate relationships and friendships, or just keep as one relationships. And another one is identity. So when it comes to career, and how do you do like this? 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest, 10 to being the highest is rate your satisfaction. How satisfied you are. So when it comes to career, think of it. Do you feel energized showing up to work every day, or do you feel drained? Does it energize you or does it drain you? And how satisfied you are from 1 to 10. Then relationships. In the relationships, do you feel seen, heard, understood, and supported? And do you feel safe just to be you? And rate your satisfaction from 1 to 10. Then identity. Identity is how much integrity you're showing up with who you truly are. Do you feel like you're doing it for you, or you're just performing roles in general from 1 to 10? If you have rated either one of this under 7, then it's time to pause, reflect, reevaluate, and potentially realign. So that's the first one, is an alignment scan. The second is fear check. So if you have rated either one of the areas is under 7, let's use career as example. If you rate it as 5 or 6, then you ask yourself this question. I am scared to walk away because. My answer was, I'm scared to walk away because I'm afraid I'm not going to make the same amount of money. I'm afraid I'm going to go broke. I'm afraid that my parents are going to criticize me. I'm afraid I'm not going to afford the same lifestyle. I'm afraid that my friends don't think the same way about me anymore, right? I can list a laundry list of fears. And this is a reality check. It's a fear check. So this will separate fear from truth. That's the second one. Because settling, most of the time, is because of fear. The last one is 3 decision questions. Ask yourself these 3 questions. First question is, does this version of me exist to serve others' comfort? Yes, the one that chose to stay in an unfulfilling career. I did that. Yes, I existed to serve others' comfort, so that my parents will be proud of me. Then my ex will be happy that we have enough money to afford anything and travel, take fancy vacations. It's very about others' comfort versus my own truth. The next question is, am I becoming someone I admire? Well, in the career that I was in, no, I wasn't, because I wasn't showing up. I wasn't showing up with I felt like I had to hide certain part of me. I felt like I wasn't reaching my potentials, and I felt like I wasn't also showing up as the best version of me because I got frustrated all the time and I snapped at people and a lot at work. That I wasn't becoming someone I admire. The last question is, would the woman I want to be say yes to this? And I know it's not an easy question to answer. For for you right now, probably because when I first started this journey, this type of questions was just so challenging for me to answer because I never actually spent time to reflect on these deep questions. These deep questions, if you were to ask me 4 years ago, the woman I want to be, I'm like, I don't even know who is this woman I want to be, but definitely is not how I'm feeling right now. But that's okay if you don't have a clear answer. If you don't have a clear answer, probably that's the answer. That's the answer, that you're not in full alignment. Because now, if you were ask me this question, I can give you a very clear answer. The way that I'm living my life today, and the choices that I'm making today, would women I want to be say yes to this? 100%. 100%. Okay. So now I'll give you some practical steps to stop settling. And it is a process. My process of stop settling and eventually consciously choosing my life and living a life that is fully aligned with my truth, it took some time. And I would say the hardest part is the first step. The first step, which is admitting, confronting the truth. Why is the hardest? It took me a while. It took me years to confront the truth. Just as I mentioned earlier, your nervous system is wired for safety and is not wired for truth. And it feels unsafe. Because once you admit the truth, then the truth demands action. And the action means change. And change requires risk, disruption, and loss of old comfort. And that is what our nervous system doesn't want. And also, truth shatters illusions that keeps you functioning. And so if you once you acknowledge to yourself that I've been betraying my own needs, that level of honesty is very painful initially. But then eventually it's liberating. But before you get to liberation, you will experience some pain. And our nervous system doesn't like that. Also, confronting truth threatens your identity. Because if you're someone who is a executive in a Fortune 500 company, if you are making certain amount of money, living certain lifestyle, right, being married, all of those type of things, and it feels very destabilizing to say this isn't working for me. Because then you're like, who I am? Who am I if I'm not those? So it's way easier just keep going. But obviously until a certain point, you're like, oh, I cannot continue to live like this anymore. And this isn't working. And that was my moment. That was the turning point of my life, is when I realized I just cannot continue settling anymore. As I said, it took years to get there. So give yourself some grace if you're not there yet. But you're doing the work, right? You're listening to the podcast. That means you are on the path. So once I confronted the truth, this isn't working, And that's when everything started to change. And because the truth isn't your enemy, it's actually your compass. It's your North Star, and it's going to guide you to where you need to go. And the moment you stop settling and face it, you start building a life where safety comes from alignment and not avoidance. And once you have this inner and outer alignment, life, it just feels so much better. And the tension, the resistance, and the frustration, it goes away. And you feel so much more alive. So first step is confronting the truth. The second step is that you get, for me, it was getting support and seeing my blind spots. I didn't know what got me settling for so many years. I had no idea. Now I'm telling you, like sharing all of this knowledge with you, it was because I now studied this. I lived through the fire. And I learned so much about myself. And I learned so much about psychology, behavior science, neuroscience, all of that. But initially, I leaned on therapy. My therapist absolutely changed my life, and coaches. I've worked with so many coaches in the past few years to really help me to see the things I don't see. Also meditation. I spent so much time alone in stillness and really just allowing myself to reflect. And others can reflect back what I couldn't see. Because that's also a human condition. Human beings were really bad at seeing ourselves objectively. So my therapists and coaches have pointed out the unhealthy patterns and dynamics, and that were holding me back. So only when I saw those blind spots and I was able to work on them and change them. The next one, which is obviously regulate your nervous system and return to safety. So much is like, oh, this is not safe, but it's very much perceived danger, perceived threat. They're not real threat. So for me, so much of somatic practices that I do these days, meditation, walking, dancing, floating in the ocean, and connecting with friends and people truly supportive of me on a daily basis. So that I feel safe. So I'm not in this constant fight or flight mode. And only when I'm not in that mode, then I have capacity, I have access to my full brain. That's when I can make a conscious choice. And that's when I have more clarity on what my truth and values and desires. So same thing, I have multiple episodes on how to regulate your nervous system, and go back and listen to those episodes on that. Then the last couple of things was you need to take actions, but very important is take micro moves, baby steps. You cannot take big steps yet, and that will overwhelm your nervous system. And even for me, I made many big changes in my life in the past 4 years, but I didn't blow up my whole life at once. I started with small baby steps. Started with saying no to work dinners, like the optional social work thing. Before, I was so scared to upset my boss, disappoint my boss, and one day I realized that was a challenge that I have, and I realized how I needed more time for myself. I don't want to do that anymore, and I started saying no to the things at work that create more space for me. And I one no at a time, right, eventually led me to leave, led me to leaving corporate America, but it's baby steps along the way. And also started with me walking into a dance class for the first time after 10 years. And now dance is an essential part of my life. But also, it only started with just one dance class a week. And coaching, before I started, became a coach, I had no idea what coaching was. Literally, I just started exploring what coaching was. I had a I did some research, had a phone conversation with a friend of mine. She quit her corporate career to become a coach. Just started with that one phone conversation. And then led me to sign up for a coaching training program, right? Then practicing and then getting certified, then got a couple clients on the side, doing as a side hustle, step by step by step. So each tiny move build confidence in me and build the capacity for our nervous system to say, oh, it's safe. It's safe to change by little, and also builds the momentum. So the last one is constantly realigning with your true self, your identity. And throughout this process, the process of unsettling, well, I wouldn't say unsettling, it's consciously choosing. Now, this, instead of settling, you wanted to live a life from consciously choice, right? Live from alignment, live from your truth. Then you are, every choice you ask yourself, is this aligned with who I want to be? Settling is just good enough. But now this new identity is that I want to become a leader of my own life. And I am a woman who chooses integrity over image, peace over performance, and courage over convenience. Just keep reminding yourself who I want to be. Am I becoming the woman? Would the woman I want to be say yes to this? Ask that question, and over, and reminding yourself. Good enough is not enough. You deserve better. This is something I constantly remind myself. I deserve better, because I truly believe I have a lot of potential in me. And you have to. Every single one of us truly have unlimited potential if you're willing to tap into it. So today I'm doing the things that I've never ever imagined before. And I'm loving it. I'm writing a book. I just finished my manual script. That's a big deal. I spent 1 year writing this book. I've never ever imagined that was possible for me. Like a published author, what are you talking about? But now it's almost a reality. My book is coming out in 2 months. And also public speaking. I used to be someone just hated visibility, and speaking in front of strangers or full room people, I'd rather die. But now I love speaking. It's not because I love the attention. It's because I know when I am sharing my stories, my experiences, and I'm inspiring people, and I love doing it. I'm excited about doing it. Right? That's something I never even thought possible. So many things. And I'm reaching my potential because I refuse to settle. And now this new life just gives me so much how do you say, fulfillment, more than fulfillment, yeah, fulfillment and joy. I just feel alive. My life is, as an entrepreneur, is not easy, but I'm loving my life. So in closing, settling is betraying your truth for comfort, while consciously choosing is reclaiming your truth with courage. Settling doesn't mean you are weak. It means that you are strong enough to make almost anything work. But that very strength has kept you in places that no longer serve you. You deserve more. You deserve better. And you are capable of more. So you don't have to keep trading alignment for appearance, safety for fulfillment, or truth for approval. You can tell yourself, I'm the woman who chooses integrity over image, peace over performance, courage over convenience. And if this episode stirred something in you, I encourage you, take one small step this week. Be patient with yourself, but also start taking action. The only way you can change is to do it, not just to think about it. You cannot think your way out of it. You need to embody it. So whether it's doing the alignment scan, finishing the sentence, I'm scared to walk away because, and asking yourself those 3 decision questions. So your first micro move is the doorway to a more aligned, more alive version of you. And you can do it. And I'm here to support you. And if you want deeper support and you want to deeper support in this process, and I love to walk alongside you. So you can book, I offer a free 1-hour consultation, and you can book this free consultation using the link in the show notes. And in this hour, we're just going to focus on you, where you are now, where you want to be, and what's the gap in between. And I'm going to map out a personalized support plan for you so that help you to stop settling and start living in full alignment.